that we're starting them and sitting them with Michael F. Florio. Go to NFL.com/Florio or NFL.com/StartSit to see the full list. We're going to do some for you on TV today. You ready, Mike?
Let's do it. This is my favorite time of the week.
Oh, yeah, the favorite time for a lot of people because the Cardinals fans, you get Kyler Murray back, we hope, coming up this week. If Kyler Murray plays, do you start him?
I am so excited to have Kyler Murray back. I have him on a number of fantasy teams myself. I am saying no to sit Kyler Murray this week. I know I'm Buzz Killington right now, but you've gotten through 9 weeks without him so far. You could take a wait-and-see approach with Kyler. Don't overlook the fact that in his career and last season, 30% of his fantasy points have come off of running plays. I have questions. Is he going to run in his first game in a year, coming off of that knee injury? So, yeah, you've made it this far. You could go one more week before you plug him.
Yeah, not only setting your alarm for Sunday morning football in Frankfurt, Germany, the Colts facing off against the Patriots, but the fact that it's okay. Don't hurt yourself, Kyler. We just want you to be safe. And as far as the expectations, dudes, a 3/4-inch Black & Decker drilled into his leg. All of my fellow ACLians understand this things take time. Be patient with one Kyler Murray. CJ Stroud, on the other hand, throw patience out the window. Dude had the best game for a rookie ever, Mike. This is a start against the Bengals?
Easily. Look, I know the Bengals defense they are tricky. They make life tough on elite quarterbacks. They did so to Josh Allen last week. I do not care. CJ Stroud, like you said, best game ever by a rookie. One of 2 players in NFL history to give you 470 and 5 in the same game. Ben Roethlisberger being the other one. And the floor, I know it's not as high as we would like, but it's still around 14 fantasy points. The ceiling is the best quarterback performance of the year. And Joe Burrow could score points on the other side. This guy's going to have to throw.
That's my fantasy game of the week. It's a star. It's a star. We love this one. CJ Stroud, spectacular. Rough for your comprehension tests and all this. As we get to Sam Howell, who has been in fuego. He's not taking sacks anymore. Are you starting Sam Howell this week?
I've been on Sam Howell for a while now, but I think we sit him this week. Look, I know how good that he has been for you in fantasy as of late and all of that. And most weeks, you could go ahead and start him. This is not most weeks. He gets the Seattle Seahawks on the road in Seattle, who have allowed the 4th fewest passing yards since week 5. They have not allowed a top 10 fantasy quarterback in 5 straight games, and I know he's been better at avoiding sacks lately. The Seahawks still generate pressure and sacks at an above league average rate, so they can make life pretty tough on Sam Howell.
Yeah, they had a tough time last week. We'll see how that Seahawks team, especially the defense, bounces back. Let's get to some running backs, and let's start with the Atlanta Falcons' Bejan Robinson. I'm very interested to know what you were doing with Bejan Robinson here in week 2.
Fantasy managers everywhere are pulling their hair out right now for Bejan Robinson and his usage. I still think you start him. We know how good he is. Like, you have eyes. You've watched Bejan play. You know he is an amazing talent. The only thing holding him back is his head coach and the usage. But this matchup is too good that even on limited touches, he could go off this week. The Cardinals have allowed the 2nd most rushing yards to running backs since week 5, the 3rd most fantasy points per game to the position this season. I am hoping for a couple of big plays, even more volume, but in a game where the Falcons could have a lead, I expect a whole lot of Bejan. That's fantasy managers.
That was Mike watching Bejan's usage in week 9. Gus Edwards has been on fire. Does it continue?
I think this one is a sit for Gus Edwards. I know he's given you 17 or more in 3 straight games, and he's been awesome. But in that span, he has 6 touchdowns, 5 in his last 2 games alone. And that matters because the Browns have allowed just 2 rushing touchdowns and 3 total touchdowns to running backs all year. And if you're still considering playing him, he played just 19% of the snaps and had 5 touches last week. 2 of them were touchdowns. They have 3 backs in Baltimore. That is a situation to try to avoid in a tough matchup.
It has been a situation to avoid in the Buccaneers backfield until last week. What do we do with Rashad White?
I know you all think I'm going to say sit him again like I did all the first half of the season, but we are starting Rashad White because he's been playing better and he has a good matchup. 15 or more fantasy points in 3 straight, including last week's explosion. But what stands out to me is at least 4 catches and 45 receiving yards in each of those games. They've kind of said, you can't run the ball, we'll just throw it to you as an extension of the run game. Plus, the Titans have allowed the 4th most rushing yards to running backs since week 5, and they get beat quite often in the passing game by running backs. So with all those teams on bye, just get White right back into that starting lineup.
Yeah, it's been working out for you. If you want to keep watching and get some more starts and sits, again, go to the website, get those. But here we got some more. Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy. I combined them together. They are one. James Cook, Ramondre starts and sits. Deshaun Watson, Jordan Love, Kareem Hunt, and Damian Pierce. Wide out in Nuke Hopkins, who's got a new quarterback. Will Levis starting again. Are you starting?
I am starting DeAndre Hopkins largely because of Will Levis. Will Levis has been great for the Titans offense, even if it hasn't always translated into big numbers. In 2 games with Levis, he has scored 35 and 10.5. That is a very high ceiling and a safe floor. Levis could win downfield, which is huge because the Bucs have allowed the most explosive pass plays this season, and they've also allowed the second most yards and touchdowns to wide receivers since week 5. Just get him in your starting.
Yeah. What if the Bucs just have fun games against the AFC South every week? Let's go ahead and do that. Zay Flowers also playing. The Browns, Florial's had a couple of Ravens sitting. Are you sitting Zay as well?
This one hurts my heart because I love Zay Flowers, but I am sitting him this week. Not only is he in his first slump as a pro, but this season he has the lowest passer rating when targeted against man coverage. His numbers against man are pretty brutal this year, and the Browns run man the 4th highest rate in the NFL. They also just allow the 3rd fewest yards, 2nd fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. And Patrick, you know these AFC North matchups, they don't usually tend to be that high scoring.
Yeah, no, we just want everybody to walk away from the game. Like that's literally the biggest concern there. As we get to Tyler Lockett, who played the Ravens last week, didn't go well, starting him this week.
He's been so up and down this year, but I think you have to start Tyler Lockett this week because of the matchup against the Commanders. And I know the numbers were down last week against the Ravens, but he did lead the team with 8 targets, and he has that number in 3 of his last 4. And the Commanders, like I said, great matchup for a big blow-up spot here. 2nd most yards and touchdowns, 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers. And that's on the year. If you go the last month or 6 weeks, it's even worse. They have just been getting torched weekly. So get them in your life.
Yes, it's very good. Walter Bailey. I said that right. Let's get to some tight ends. Kyle Pitts, Michael Florio. What are we doing? What are you doing?
I'm waving the white flag when it comes to Kyle Pitts. Oh, you gotta sit him. Look, I think he's extremely misused. You all think he's extremely misused, but it does not matter. What we think doesn't score fantasy points. And this year, Jonnu Smith is the tight end that has been better for fantasy in Atlanta. Pitts, 3 straight games with single-digit fantasy points. He has 2 games all year topping 10 or more. And the Cardinals aren't like they used to be when against tight ends. They've actually allowed the 7th fewest yards to the position since week 5.
Arthur Smith did say they need to be more explosive in the red zone, so you know what that means. More Jonnu Smith on the way as we get to
handoffs, Tyler Algier, anything that we don't want.
Dalton Kincaid, very hot right now. Starting Dalton Kincaid?
Must start Dalton Kincaid. He was the top target last week for the Bills. I know he had that fumble. We don't talk about that in my house, but he has topped 15 or more in 3 straight games. He tied the rookie record for catches in a 3-game span the last 3 weeks, and he is the 2nd rookie tight end ever. 3 consecutive games with 5 or more catches and 50 or more receiving yards. They use him in the red zone. It is a good matchup. He is as must start as a tight end can get right now.
Yeah, that's no tall fumble. Don't talk about the fumble, but he is a must start. Dalton Kincaid, you want some more starts and sits? They're going to be on your television screen. Christian Kirk, Nico Collins, Cole Kmet, and Dalton Schultz. Jacoby Myers, Jahan Dotson get a sit, as well as David Njoku and Jawan Johnson of the New Orleans Saints.